Banish from Edoras. Right, Banish from Edoras. Sorcery. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature. Exile target creature. So 4 and a white, that's a lot. I mean, 5 mana sorcery speed removal spell. I mean, Exile's gonna be relevant if there's like a lot of reanimation or like indestructible stuff. It does have a discount if you target a tapped creature. The problem usually is that like if a creature's tapped, it means it hit you or something, you know, and I don't know, like that's gonna be awkward. It also means like if you want to try to use it proactively to remove a blocker, you're gonna have to spend like the full 5 mana to get rid of it, which is a lot. And so I think I'd rate this like a 2 out of 5. This is like the card you're gonna play like one of if you didn't get like better removal. So I'm gonna rate it as a 2 out of 5. We're gonna use the 5-point rating system because I think a lot of people are used to that. Yeah, why sorcery speed? It really hurts it. Because like it means that you can't like use it in response to like an attack or something like that, or you know, in middle of combat kind of thing. So it's like it makes it much less likely you're gonna get 2-for-1. Because like sorcery speed removal, that like it's really rough when it's like that expensive. You know, like I think like in a modern set you would expect this to be like 4, I guess, but 5 like really hurts it a lot, in my opinion. And I will actually be writing this down somewhere, my ratings, just in case people want to see it. Build a pony with three and a white legendary creature horse. When build a pony enters the battlefield, create 2 food tokens. They're artifacts with 2 colorless or 2 generic. Sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. Sacrifice the food until end of turn. Target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Yeah, yeah. 1.5 is actually probably closer, honestly. So it's like the removals, but you don't really want to play, but you will play if you're like, alright, build a pony. So so it's a 1/4 for 4. Kind of awkward. It does create 2 food tokens. Those are game objects that are like relevant. I mean, you can also sacrifice the food, and then so if there's like a butts matters like thing in the set, then it's gonna be good. I know there's some food synergies and some legendary creature synergies that like that actually make you care, and there's also horse synergies in the set as well. So like I think this card is actually going to be better than it looks because like I mean it's kind of like a 4/4 for like 2 turns, right? Because you can sack a food and it hits as a 4/4. Yeah, it's like a 4/4 for 2 turns. So I think it's going to be like good in context of the set because it has horse, food, and maybe I guess butt synergy. I don't know if there's a lot of butt synergy, but if there's like butt synergies in the set, I think it's gonna be good. So I'd probably just cautiously 3.5. Yeah, I was like thinking 2.5. Maybe a low 3. Yeah, depending on like how good like the legendary synergies are. I would probably say it's like a low 3 at the moment because I haven't actually like looked at the entire set to be honest. So I'm just gonna say it's like a low 3, maybe like a 2.5, but 2.5 to 3. But I think this is like a card that you'll probably take. There's a lot of food synergies, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it fills a lot of different things, like the legendary, horse, and food. But I'll just say it's a 3. No, maybe it'll be proven wrong as well there, but alright, Boromir, Ward of the Tower. Two generic and a white, or 2 and a white. Legendary creature, human soldier. Vigilance, whenever an opponent casts a spell, no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. Sacrifice Boromir, Ward of the Tower. Creatures you control gain indestructible intent. The ring tempts you. So so this is like the first card that's like ring. Yeah, it could be a 4 later. Let's go over quickly about like the ring tempts you mechanic, just in case people don't know. it's like a new keyword action, and they that's new with this Lord of the Rings set or whatever. It's kind of like an emblem basically that can never be like interacted with, and it like it stays on you like the entire game or whatever. And then like it has like different steps, kind of like in a way it's kind of like going to a dungeon if you think about it. Like if anybody remembers like the going to a dungeon mechanic, except like when you get to the end or whatever, it doesn't like don't start over again. So it also it doesn't really give you like immediate benefit like the dungeons did. It just kind of like modifies your ring bearer or whatever. Like your ring bearer is basically whenever the ring tempts you is like you can choose a creature as your ring bearer, and then you can always like if it tempts you again, you can always keep using the same creature as your ring bearer. You don't have to like designate a different one unless you want to, and then the creature you choose remains your ring bearer until you choose another one. It leaves the battlefield or another player gains control of it. Each player has their own ring bearer and their own the ring, and you can never have more than one ring bearer. Spells and abilities may refer to your ring bearer. Most obviously, the ring itself has abilities that affect your ring bearer. It immediately becomes legendary, which is relevant. And it can't be blocked by creatures of greater power. And then there's like other like combat bonuses that happen. So like the first step is basically your ring bearer legendary and can't be blocked by creature power. So it's kind of like invisibility. Um, and then the second time the ring tempts you, whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. I.e., desire to possess the ring. I'll put it up here. And then whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices at the end of combat. Death of the previous ring bearers. And then the fourth time you get tempted by the ring, whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life, i.e., the lasting effects of the. So this is basically like an emblem that has like 4 different steps, and you have to keep track of what step you're on. You can only go, and it is cumulative, the abilities you get. So like, um, when you're at like the final step, it does mean your ring bearer legendary can't be blocked by creatures of greater power. When it attacks, you draw a card, discard a card. When it becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's control sacrifices at the end of combat, and then whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. So, and then there's like some triggered abilities that trigger whenever the ring tempts you, and these abilities will trigger if the ring tempts you, even if you didn't choose a ring bearer because you didn't control any creature. However, some of these abilities will further specify that they trigger only if you choose specific creatures as your ring bearer, which I think I've seen in the spoiler. There's some cards that say like, whenever this becomes your ring bearer, do Y or so. All right, so right now this is a 3/3 for 3 vigilance. Oh, I forgot about the vigilance. My bad. So it's a 3/3 vigilance for 3. That's like a good, reasonable stat line in limited. I mean, people have played Sigil Sentinel and whatnot. The whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. That's probably not going to be like relevant and limited. I think that's more of like a constructed plant to like, because there's like 0 cost spells that people play in like constructed. So that's mostly for constructed. And sacrifice abilities, creatures you control gain indestructible in turn. That's a pretty strong ability. Like, um like being able to give all your creatures indestructible at will or whatever, I think that's like a pretty strong ability in limited, and I would probably say this is like a 4 because of it, just because like a 3/3 vigilance is already like very playable, and like just again like being able to like choose whenever your creatures get indestructible is pretty good. Yeah, it stops cascade, yeah, mainly. I mean, it does also stop like Mishra's Bauble, but I mean that's also like maybe a thing. But I mean, yes, when I say stops cascade, it stops you from casting living end or glimpse the whatever possibilities or you know crashing footfalls. restore balance, that kind of thing. So I would probably put this as like a 4. Like, this is a card you're gonna just like take out of the pack and you're gonna be pretty happy. It doesn't really need like anything to build around it besides like creatures. And most limited games are like decided about like creature combat, so alright, this is just these are just multiple versions of Boromir. I'm not gonna look at all of them. Okay, Dawn of a New Age, 1 in the white enchantment. Dawn of a New Age, enter the battlefield with a hope counter on for each creature you control. At the beginning of your end step, remove a hope counter from Dawn of a New Age. If you do, draw a card. Then the Dawn of a New Age has no hope counters on it. Sacrifice it and you gain 4 life. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it reminds me a lot of like Frontline Medic. I remember that card. Oh wait, actually wait, no, the Frontline Medic. How did that card work? Oh, never mind. That's different. I guess it's like a selfless savior that protects everything, and it has like ring tempts you text too. So that's actually like a plus. Like there might be honestly some situations you just sack it to get like the ring tempts you. So like this card, it's like the white card draw thing. Like it's like you have to have a lot of creatures in play. So like on like if you say you have like 3 creatures in play, this is like a really slow draw 3. Right? It has triggers at the beginning of your end step, which isn't bad, right? Well, Frontline Medic was a little different because it actually like it was meant for like Frontline Medic was meant for like countering Sphinx's Revelation. Trying to think, there's definitely been other creatures that like you sack them and it gives indestructible to all your creatures, or I can't remember. Like the only thing I can think of right now is like Selfless Savior, but that only gives 1 creature indestructible. Is what did self? Actually, did Linvala do that? Maybe that's what I'm thinking about. Linvala. Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of. Linvala. Well, she could just use Hexproof too. Um, all right, so going back to the Dawn of a New Age, I'm thinking this is gonna be really like clunky card draw. Like maybe if there's like a really big go wide token theme is gonna be better, but I don't know. This is like a really complex build around, and usually like I think this is more of a constructed card. So I'm gonna like rate this as like a really I probably just rate this as like a 2 or something. It's like maybe you'll have like somebody that goes off with this card, but I don't know. It depends on how easy it is to make tokens in this set, but I don't think like raw card draw effects is that insane usually in limited nowadays, and like this is all very conditional. It reminds me a lot of like Investigator's Journal from like Crimson Vow, and I forgot. I think it was like it was like Investigator's Journal from like Crimson Vow. I guess that require you to spend mana on it too, which made it worse. You had to spend mana to do it, and but that one also like counted any player's creature, or like so like if your opponent had like more creatures than you did, you could like draw a bunch of things. But to be honest, like if your opponent has like more creatures than you and you play an Investigator Journal, you might be in trouble. Like if you're just spending your mana and your time to like draw cards of it. Whereas like this is just like it just does automatically and it does trigger at the beginning of your end step, which is super relevant. Because like a lot of times like these extra card draw effects, they don't trigger until your upkeep makes them worse, in my opinion. But I'm gonna say this is like a 2. Doesn't seem like insane. I mean, I'm probably gonna end up like drafting it at some point just to try it out. I think it's more of a construct. 2 mana, yeah, it's not a high pick. Like you'll probably I'll probably draft it for the meme, but I mean, I'm not gonna be super excited about it. Alright, Dunedain Blade, 1 in the white, artifact equipment. Equip creature gets +2/+1. Equip human 1. Equip 3. So there's like a variant of like, the type of equipment you see is like really rewards you for playing like tribal stuff. It's like 3 mana for +2/+1 is definitely below rate, but 1 mana for a +2/+1, then you're talking about like the machete, which is actually pretty great. But I mean, I think usually these types of like equipments have been kind of like not good, honestly. Like I think they had like Soldier's Power Blade or whatever in Brothers War, and that card was just kind of like that's all. Like I think it was like for Veterans Power Blade. Right, there's veteran power. I guess veteran power blade is a little different because it only gave like power, but like the equip cost is a little different. But I mean, so like if you have like 8 or 9 humans, it's gonna be a really good card. But it's like the type of card you really wanted to like wheel. You know, and if you're playing in a non-human deck, it's gonna be pretty bad. So I'm gonna say like a 1.5. Because I just think this is like a card that you're gonna want specifically if you're in humans, and then if you're not, you're just gonna not want to play it. It's definitely filler. Eagles of the North, 5 in the white, creature bird soldier. Flying, when Eagles of the North enter the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain first. So and plane cycling 1. So there's like an entire cycle of land cycling creatures in this set, which I like. And they only cost 1 to cycle, which is actually pretty cool because like 1 for cycling is a lot better than like 2 for cycling. Like they had 2 for cycling cards in March of the Machines, and most people were just like, "Oh, that's like a pretty low pick." Cycling cards in March of the Machines, but this potentially could be actually pretty great because like it helps you like you know fix hands that are like a little bit clunky or whatever. Like you can keep like 2 landers a lot more. You can keep 1 landers with a card like this. That's like a big difference. Right? You could keep a 1 lander with Eagles in North in your hand. If like your rest of your hand looks like really low curve and then you're like okay, like kind of risking. It's like, oh, I'll just keep this 1 lander, the Eagle. Probably do it. But so like the body's not great. Like 6 mana 3/3 is really undercosted. Like realistically, if you're spending 6 mana, you want like a 4/4. It's like a combination card. It's like it does have like a relevant pump effect, like a +1/+0, and giving all your creatures first strike is gonna be a big deal. Like if you're going wide, like giving all your creatures first strike and +1/+0 might actually give you like a really good swing. But again, I don't know. Like the body again is not that great. Like usually like with these types of pump effects, you usually want to be able to. Yeah, I mean, I think the plane cycling 1 is gonna what saves the card, to be honest. So I'd probably say it's like a 2.5. I'd say it's like a 2.5. Like this is like the exact card. Like I don't know how many copies of this you want to play. The mana fix, yeah. Like I do like that land cycling 1, but I mean again I'm not sure how many type of this effect you want to play. It's like it is like if you're playing a lot of these, then they kind of end up. It's like weird because I guess like it is like a 6 drop. So like I guess if you have multiple copies of it, they do help each other. But I guess like if you're cycling a lot of like your 6 drops to get land, it could get awkward. Like maybe you end up flooding out a little bit more. I guess you could actually play some of these as replacements of like land about it, right? Like so actually that makes it a little bit better because you can play these instead of land maybe if you're really aggressive, I guess. But again, yeah, I don't know. Again, like I guess if you're playing a low land count, you're never actually casting 6. But I don't know. I remember cyclers, 1 mana cyclers were really good in Ikoria, but that's also because there were all these cycling payoffs, right? Like Zenith Flare, the Tapper guy. Like the Tapper and Zenith Flare, and there was like little other things like the damage, like the pinger that damages them. Like and the dude that makes 1/1s when you cycle the first time each turn. So that was a little different. Like Ikoria was weird because you ended up playing like off color cyclers because all these like cycling payoffs, but like I don't think there's anything like that in the set. And also, this is land side. All right, East Farthing Farmer, two and a white. I can't say that very fast. Creature Halfling Peasant. When East Farthing Farmer enters the battlefield, create a food token. When you do, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each food you control. I'm not gonna explain what food does again because it's a lot of like. But so it's the 3 mana 2/3 and hmm. It creates a food token when you do target creature you so it's a food payoff. I see. It's a food payoff. So if you don't have any other food, it's pretty bad. It's like they've had this type of card before, like Herald of the Fair. It was like a 3 mana 3/2 that put a +1/+. I mean, a food token is still a game object that like interacts with like other foods you have, but basically you're gonna want to be in like an aggressive food deck. And like a 3 mana 2/3 doesn't necessarily lend itself to being that aggressive either, but I mean I don't know. It feels like a 2 maybe, but if like the food deck is really good, maybe it's a 2.5. But like I don't know what like the ceiling on this card could possibly be. Like there's probably gonna be somebody has like some story, like they played one of these and it pumped their guy by like 4 or something, and they got lethal off of it. So I don't know. I feel like Modern Limited is like almost gone past this point. Like all these food tokens will remind me of like Eldraine. Because like remember like food tokens actually made aggro hard to like pull off because it's like everybody had like virtual 3 to 6 extra life or whatever or more because it reminds me a lot of like Herald Affair and like maybe Modern Limited has gone like way past that. I mean, it gives you a food. It's not like anyway. Eastmark Cavalier, 1 and a white, creature human knight, vigilance. Whenever Eastmark Cavalier deals damage with Goblin and Orc story. So there's like some Goblin and Orc matters stuff in the set as well. Like there's some Goblins and Orc matters stuff. Like you can it was basically it's a 2/2 vigilance. Yeah, it's the vampire or it's the vampire slayer of the set exactly, or dinosaur hunter of the set. Again, it's like filler. It's vigilance, so it's like I guess like it can actually start getting into as opposed to just like sitting back and like holding off like their goblin or orc. They'll start getting in. If all their creatures are like good goblins or orcs or whatever, they might not want to attack into it, but this is probably just gonna be again to be like a filler common. So like I'd probably say it's gonna be like 1.5 type thing. Maybe you have like a lot of human synergies. I could see it being like a low 2, but I don't think it's gonna be like 8. Alright, Eowyn, Lady of Rohan, legendary creature, human noble. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature gains your choice of first strike or vigilance until end of turn. If that creature is equipped, it gains first strike and vigilance until end of turn. Equip abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. So here's like something that actually like pays you off for playing like that Dunedain Blade. Yeah, a 3 mana 2/4 is actually like a pretty good stat. It's a reasonable stat line, right? Like I noticed there's a lot of like 2/4s in this set, which also makes me wonder like how good aggro is gonna be. But yeah, giving so it's like this is like an equipment matters card, right? And also like giving your creature it only triggers at the beginning of combat on your turn, but like it will make combat really annoying because like giving your largest creature vigilance or your largest creature first strike or something will probably make like attacks really good. Like so giving vigilance means you can like block. Also, yeah, it's got a big butt, so it can block all the 3/2s and 3/1s all day. And like, I mean, maybe if there's like an equipment synergy, it's gonna be really good. But I could actually see this being like a 3. Like, you know, this is a card that you're just gonna be happy to play it. Like, obviously, you might not want to play a ton of copies of it because it is a legendary, but I mean, I think it's just gonna be like so good, and especially if you have like, you know, good equipment. You have like good equipment, like I can see pretty decent there, but I would say like a 3 at this point. Alright, Aaron Rider of Gondor, 2 and a white, creature human soldier. When Aaron Rider of Gondor enters the battlefield, draw a card. And if you don't control a legendary creature, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. Okay, so there's like a legendary creature payoff. Um, like, obviously you want to have like, I mean, there's like legendary creatures that are uncommon. Yet like, you know, like 3/2 for 3 is bad. Like you don't want to play that, but like it's basically like if you don't have a legendary creature, it's a loot. It doesn't fill your graveyard. It goes into the bottom of your library, so you don't get to do anything. Like you can't like reanimate it or anything. Yeah. Oh, and Ring Bearer is a legendary. That's a good point, Septimus. So yeah. So this also has synergy with your Ring Tempu card. I don't know. I'm always still. I could see this being like a 2. Just because, like, the upside is pretty good, right? If you draw the card, like, I guess if you have a ton of legendaries, it could be like a 2.5, but I don't know, like. I'm getting a feeling like it reminds me a lot of like Resistance Squad from like Crimson Vow, where it's like, oh, it was like decent, but it's not like insane. But yeah, if you have enough like ring temps you cards, and you can keep your ring bearer alive or whatever, or you ring temp you again, you're getting better. But I mean, I'm still gonna probably just argue that it's like a 2 at this point, like maybe 2.5 if you support it really well. But I'm just kind of low on like the stat line personally. But like obviously, if you draw the card, it's kind of nuts. It's like I think raw card draw on creatures has actually gone to the point where it's not like even that necessarily. Like I just remember like it just depends on when it happens. Like ETB is a lot better than like dies. Or because like I think there's some blink spells too. So if you get like some blink spells, some legendaries, and some ring stuff, then I could start being a half. Escape from Orthodonk instant. So this is basically just like a reprint of Wings of the Cosmos. Target creature gets +1/+3 and gains flying until. I mean, Wings of the Cosmos was one of those cards that actually like overperformed in I thought it overperformed in all time. Just because 1 mana combat tricks are such a big deal compared to like 2 mana combat tricks because it's so easy to just like leave it up. You know, because you know how many times like if like try to like leave up 2 mana for a combat trick and your opponent just like reads it right away and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna attack it. Like 1 mana is like a lot better. Like you can like ambush something. This also counters like that banish card because it untaps your creature. Well, no, actually, never mind. No, it doesn't. Actually, I don't think that would work because like they pay the costs on the. So never mind. But, but like if you did actually cast in a response, they would still technically be casting it for 3. So that actually has no theoretically. I guess you could do it if you think your opponent has it. You could like untap like before go to their main. I don't know. But like I think like usually these combat tricks have been good enough to like. But again, it's not like something that you really want like a million copies of it either. And like I do feel like these combat tricks later, so I'm gonna say it's like a 2. Still, because it's just like you can't like I mean, it could be like a 2.5 potential. Like if the format if it's like really good. Right? Maybe I could say it's like a 2.5. I've been really low on a lot of cards. I've always felt like these 1 mana combat tricks like tend to like overperform. Esquire the King, white, 1 white. or sorry, a single white creature, human, soldier, 4 and a white, tap. Creatures to control get +1/+1 in the end of turn. This ability costs 2 less to activate to control a legend. So legendary creature. So this is like another legendary matters card. Um, it has to tap itself, which is a little awkward. Like they've had these types of cards before. They're just like one and like pay 4 and a white and do something. Yeah, this is probably going to be really fillery, basically. Because like the fact that it has a tap means you don't get to do it right away. Also, like you can't go like 6 mana, play this, and then pump or whatever. I mean, it is like technically an instant, but it's just I don't know. It's probably going to be filler basically because of the tap ability. Gonna make it like filler, but it's not like completely awful. I mean, I'm not sure like how important it is to have like 1-drops in the format also, because there's definitely some formats where like 1-drops are like super good, like um Neon Kamigawa and the one like Pyrexia, but I'm gonna say there's like a 1.5. Again, I'm just not like super excited about 1 mana 1/1 like pump thing like this, especially with the tap ability. Awkward. Faramir, Field Commander, 3 and a white, legendary creature, human soldier. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, draw a card. And whenever the ring tempts you, if you chose a creature other than Faramir, Field Commander, the ring, 3 and 1/1 humans, white human soldier creature. So it's a 4 mana 3/3. Not great stat by itself, but like it does like the fact that it triggers at the beginning of your end step means you can like attack with a bunch of things and try to like have them die, and then you can play Faramir afterwards and then draw a card. And this is like has like again has like legendary creature synergies, and there is actually like a mechanic where like you I think it's like kind of morbid-ish mechanic where you're like looking at things that died during your and then you look at the beginning of your end step and stuff and like do something. It's like the D&D, if anyone remembers that. Like, well, actually, that was a creature died in general, but it's a similar idea. Hey, thanks for resub, demonic tutor. I shake my fuck at you. 13 months. Oh my god, that's a lot. Um, so I'm actually gonna like be high on this card. Like, I think this could actually be kind of nuts. It doesn't specify non-token, right? So like you could actually send in like token creatures to die or whatever. Like assuming like you have a lot of ring tempt you interaction. But I don't know. I could definitely see this being like a 2.5 stuff. 2.5 or maybe even higher, depending on how like the creature died under your control this mechanic is. If there's a lot of sack outlets, I could see this being maybe a 3 sack is. But yeah, like I mean the stats are of it like the body itself is kind of awkward because like 4 mana 3/3 is not like a good body. You really need to have like the other text be doing something, but you can give a shout out to Demonic Tutors. You know, checked out his stream. You should. You'll learn a lot by playing. Learn a lot about playing Modern. Very good. 3.5. Yeah, you'd say 3. Yeah, I'm gonna say I could say 3. I could say 3. Could bump it to a 3. It does feel like a card that will actually take over a game. As Faramir could take over a game theoretically. Flowering of the White Tree, white, legendary enchantment. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1. Non-legendary creatures you control get +1/+1. Oh yeah, this card seems pretty strong. Like, it's a Glorious Anthem, which is already, like, very good and limited, and then, it also makes, like, your legendary creatures super even better because they get +2/+1 and ward 1, so they get sticky. I'm sure they would be good in Stand Up High. Oh yeah, that's kind of yeah, that's true. It's like supposed to be a modern set, and then like a lot of the cards don't feel hella pushed for modern. That is kind of a problem. Yeah, it's a little awkward because like I'm sure people will play some of these cards in modern and then be like, oh man, this card is like not good enough. But I don't know. I think it's kind of okay to like not have Modern Horizons 3 yet, just because like people complain whenever there's like a Modern Horizon set comes out and it totally invalidates like all the other decks that people played before. But yeah, I'm gonna say there's like a 4. Like the only thing that might hurt it is the double white. But I mean, so you can't splash it. But I mean, I guess you couldn't splash Glorious Anthem either because I think it was double white. Yeah, I'd probably say there's like a 4. Fan service of Commando. Yeah, it's like a really good hit flavor hit for sure. I think it's better than the Baldur's. It's going to be better than the Baldur's Gate Legend set, right? Because like the Baldur's Gate Legend set was like universally panned for the part, if I remember. Absolutely, there were like extreme hatred that set the Baldur's Gate set, but. Alright, Fog of the Barrow Dawn, or the Barrow Downs, 2 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature is a spirit and can't attack or block. It loses all other creature types. So this is like your limited fodder removal spell, like pacifism that costs 3. Um, yeah, I mean, you'll play it. I don't know, like, I actually feel like pacifism type effects have gone really bad. Like limited nowadays, so it's not like an insanely high pick or whatever, but you do need to have some removal. And I mean, the advantages of like aura based removal is that it does turn off like any kind of like reanimation card. But I mean, it's removal. You'll probably want to have it. You'll like I mean, luminous bonds and stuff. Like it's basically luminous bonds. So you rate it at the same rate you rate Luminous Bonds, which I guess is like a 2.5. You think it's a 1.5? I think it's better than like a 1.5, but I don't know. I think it's better. I would rate it the same as like I would rate Luminous Bonds now, which is actually kind of low. I guess maybe a 2. Because I've just gone much lower on things like Realm Breaker Grass, even though like Realm Breaker Grass is better than this. Yeah, I guess like yeah, I'm gonna say it's a 2, even though like I could see it being lower. It's like 3 mana is actually kind of a amount for like a removal spell, but like I haven't seen like any of the other removal. They have like you have to also like rate it in the context of other removal spells, right? Like um, it's 3 mana. You have to rate it in the context of other removal spells because like it doesn't look like the other removal spells look really that good. But like if there's like a murder type card in the set, then I would revise this to be like a 1.5 change turn. Like I mean, it's luminous bonds, right? Luminous bonds. So it's not like insanely high, but you're gonna play one if like the limit if like the limited set encourages you to do it. Maybe I don't know, but it's definitely much better than that sorcery that like that exile something. That card's very right. Forge anew, 2 and a white enchantment. When Forge anew enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime you cast an instant. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate during each. So I'm probably gonna say this is like a 1. Because this is really more like a constructed card than a limited card. I don't know, like if there's like amazing equipment, I could see it being higher, but I'm just gonna say there's like a construct. it's like meant like I guess you could put it in like hammer decks as like your this is like your replacement. Yeah, maybe just put it as like 0.5 for like limit. I mean, it just depends on how good the equipment is, but I could see being like a 0.5, like a 1 maybe. Yeah, yeah, unless like, there's a lot of good, if there's a lot of good equipment stuff, then maybe it's gonna be better, but yeah, this is basically just like a constructed plant for like people to play it in like hammer, Colossus hammer decks. So it is kind of neat in like the Colossus hammer decks because you get to move it around and stuff because you can do it. Oh, I guess it's only during your turn. Never mind. So okay, that makes it even worse. You can only move it around on your turn. Zero, like 0.5. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna say this. It's like yeah, you probably you just should not play this card in your limited deck. Stay away. Proto Determined Hero. One on the white, legendary creature, halfling warrior. Whenever Frodo, Determined Hero, enters the battlefield or attacks, you may attach target equipment you control with mana value 2 or 3 to Frodo. All the Hammer Time players go boo because it doesn't let you equip Hammer. And then as long as it's your turn, prevent all damage, it will be double. So again, there's like an equipment matters card. It depends how good the equipment matters stuff is. I mean, it does have like the prevent all damage that will be dealt to it during your turn, so it always gets to attack. Right? It can always like attack. And but I mean this is gonna be like a very contextual card, but like you think it's an F. Yeah, it's gonna play out like a lot like a 2/2 for 2. I don't know if it's gonna be a 1.5, but I would probably like rate it the same or 1.5. No, I would probably rate it the same as like that 2/2. It might be a little bit better than that Vigilant 2/2 that can destroy a goblin or orc, but I don't know. I'd probably just say it's like a 1.5. Like it can attack every turn. It's fine. Yeah, it's curve filler. You'll play it, but it's not like insane. It's like they've had cards like that before that are like, prevent all damage to it during your turn. Or like, right? Or maybe that's only like the first. I feel like they've had like commons like that before that were like prevent all damage that will be dealt to it. Like sometimes it gets people. Because like you can't use like burn spells, I guess, on it, so it makes it like a little bit better against like people who don't read hard. Like if they use like a burn spell on it or whatever, they try to block it, and they're like, "Oh, why did my guy die?" I think it's gonna be better than that Vampire Slayer card, but I'm not gonna be like super high on it. Curve filler or whatever. Like I could say it's like a half maybe. Yeah, it's good with aggro, but the thing is, I think we determined that if there's a lot of good food payoffs, like aggro's not gonna be like, oh well, like it's because like all the foods, but I mean I could be wrong for sure. It's sometimes you just need 2/2 for 2. Yeah, maybe I could say it's like a 2 potentially. I'd say it's like a low 2. Yeah, that's a low 2. Just because it has like it's a build around. It has like some really good upside if you have like a bunch of equipment. Frodo, Sauron's Bane, one white legendary creature, halfling citizen. Hybrid Orzhov mana twice. So two hybrid Orzhov mana. If Frodo, Sauron's Bane is a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout with base power and toughness 2/3 and lifelink. And then triple black, if Frodo is a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue with whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game if the ring has tempted you 4 or more times this game, otherwise the ring tempts. So it's like a really weird variant on like uh Figure of Destiny. Um, so you could spend like 6 mana over like multiple turns to make it a 2/3 lifelink that tempts you, or like it could potentially win the game. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be like a 2/3 lifelinker, and I mean the thing is technically they can let it hit them a few times. It depends on how much like this is also like a card I think is gonna be bad because it's like it's gonna be annoying to play in paper because you're gonna have to like keep track of the number of times the ring has tempted in a game, right? So that's yeah, it's gonna. I guess you track on the emblem, right? Because like if they're on step 4 of the ring temptation, I guess, and like, oh right, like, this is like this kills me. If yeah, it's gonna be kind of tricky to get like a 2/3 lifelink through, right? So I mean, basically, if you're playing like a white black deck or something, it's it's like a yeah, it's mostly just like a 2/3 lifelink. So you can play this on 1. And then on 2, if you don't have anything else to do, you can pay both your mana, like make it a 2/3 lifelink and attack. And then, yeah, it's like filler and aggro or whatever. So it's yeah. It is a lot of I mean, you're just tracking the number of times the ring has tempted them anyways, right? Because like you need to know what step they're on. Like if they're on step 4 of the ring, then you just know like, oh, this hits me, I die. I don't know. This is probably like a card people are gonna like pick really high. Yeah, coming in more than once. The other Frodo's not in draft boosters. Oh really? I thought the set said really. I don't know. I guess maybe. Oh, what? Can I filter it by in booster? Maybe that's probably what it is. Let me try filtering it by in the draft maybe. Other. So I'm not like looking at all these commander cards. Like that's also just gonna make like drafting confusing. Alright, just in the context of that card, would you say I'd probably say it's probably gonna be like a 2.5. It's not gonna be a bomb or anything. It's like a 2/3 you're paying for in 2 steps. I mean maybe that's actually worse if that's the case. Like a 2/3 lifelink's not really like maybe it's like a 2. I mean it does tempt I like when you hit, but it's not like insane or reasonable because it is something to do with let me sort by thing. Draft innovation. What does that mean? I think 2.5 is fair. Yeah. I mean, I guess they might have to play a little bit differently because like it does tempt. Like tempting isn't bad, right? Tempt on hit is actually a reasonable ability. Like if you have a lot of removal, but yeah, let's say it's like 2 to 2.5. Basically, like a 2.25 if that was like an option, but then getting like metagaming and stuff. How do you filter out like commander cards in this? I guess you can't, can you? I guess you have to look at the set number. Oh geez, now this is like I guess you could look at the collector number to see if it's in the draft boost. Anyway, Gondal the White. It's like a 3 and double white. Legendary creature, avatar, wizard, flash. They cast legendary spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. If a legendary permanent or artifact leaving or entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So this is basically like commander bait. it's commander bait. It's probably going to be like worth a lot of money because of like commander. Like if you play it in your goal rail, no, like your Sisei deck. But this is mostly just gonna be like a flash 4/5 for 5 and limited. I mean, if you have like a yeah, I don't really know how to like rate this, to be honest. It might have, yeah, it may have some like legendary synergy. It's like Wrath. Like I remember it was like Wrath from Dominaria, and that card wasn't bad, but that was also a 3/3 flyer. Wrath was a 3/3 flyer for 4. This is a 4/5 for 5, which is kind of like a worse. I don't know. Maybe it's like less super insane stat line. I don't know. Like it depends like how good 5 toughness is too. Like maybe if like there's a ton of like 4/4s in the set, like a 4/5 flash is gonna be really. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be very contextual card. It's gonna be. You think it's probably yeah 3/5. I guess it's 3/5 with synergies. Yeah, I could see that. But like it's a build around. There's a lot of like ETB stuff on ETB. Like it's kind of funny, like the way it says legendary spell artifacts. They probably could have just said historic, right? Because doesn't historic isn't historic basically legendary spell? I guess yeah, isn't historic basically just legendary spells and artifacts? So maybe they just didn't want to use historic because it's like confusing the people who didn't play Dominaria. To be like, what's historic? They were like the mechanic historic, but I don't know. Yeah, I could see it being like, yeah, sure. It's probably got some synergies that are like good. Gondal White Rider, 3 and a white, legendary creature, avatar, wizard, vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, scry 1. Whenever Gondal White Rider dies, you may put it into its owner's library, 5th from the top. That's a lot of text. 4 mana, 3/3. Again, I'm not 100% sure if this is in the draft because like the numbering is annoying, but um if you cast a spell, creatures you control. So there's like some scry 1 matters stuff in the set. Um it's a really long time, like so if it dies, that's a really long. Oh yeah. Legendary to historic permanent, yeah. So it depends on how good like the Scry 1 matter stuff is gonna be in the set, but it is like a pump spell, like also go wide, like again if you're going wide and like if you cast a lot of spells or cast like 1 or 2 spells, like giving just giving your other creatures +1/+0 might matter a lot if they have like first strike, or it might enable some attacks that had before. I mean, you're obviously not going to be very happy if you're just playing it as like a 4 vigilance. It's bad, but I mean, like if you play this and you have a lot of scry matters stuff and tokens, then you're going to be happy about it. So I'd probably just say it's like a 2.5. I'm gonna say it's like insanely busted or whatever. 2.5 is like reasonable. I also forgot how many cards there are, and we're almost done with white. Like maybe we can do white and blue. I'll see how long I can talk. I guess that's the thing. Is like uh talking or a Hobbit Sting 1 and a white. Oh, is that better? Because it might not have like the draft stuff in it or the commander stuff in it. Is that why? Sorted by number while the other filter. Okay, let's just use this then. Not looking at commander cards. Oh yeah, there's like okay, there was stuff in there. Awkward because I want to like look at. Okay, I guess we do this. All right, Hobbit Sting. 1 and a white. Hobbit's Sting deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of creatures you control plus the number of foods you control. So it's like outnumber or outflank, I guess. Or sorry, outnumber. It's outnumber. It costs 2, but it let me link outnumber. Okay, yeah, that helps a lot because this way I'm not like looking at commander cards. But so it costs 2, but it's a food payoff. Instant, like there's there's all go wide, a lot of food. Gonna be happy with playing it. This probably looks like potentially a better removal spell than the ones we've seen so far, theoretically. So, but I think a lot of the times, like I've rated these conditional types of removal spells as like a 2. So I don't know. I guess it depends on how good like generation is. I guess technically, if I rated pacifism at 2.5, I should rate. I don't know. Again, it's just a little pricey, but I mean, if the food support is good, thing. I also have a tendency to like over have a problem. Yeah, it's white outnumber, but I mean, I think usually like white decks should have like a lot of they should probably have like a lot of creatures theoretically. Theoretically, sorry, I'm just like trying to see how many cards I like rated that were like actually on the. I think that those were the only 2. Oh, oh no. It's just loading. I was like, did we actually finish that quickly? No, it's just Landreval, Horizon, Witness. Legendary creature. So 4 and a white, legendary creature, bird, noble, flying. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, target attacking creature while flying, gain flying until that turn. So it's like, it's like a really condition. Yeah, he doesn't have to be attacking, which is good. So you can just play it and then attack with 2 other creatures. Is cool. It obviously doesn't let you get like a totally free attack, but if you have like say a flying creature and a non-flying creature, you can attack with both of them to get flying to the non-flying guy, and then I could see that be kind of annoying, right? Because I like that yeah triggers even if like it's not attacking, so like you can just play it pre-combat and then get like the you get the evasion, right? You have like 2. That being said, like a 5 mana 3/4 body is not like great, but I mean usually a lot of times like this comes on like a 3 mana 2/2 also isn't great, so like, depends. It is a little expensive, like 5 mana. But I mean, if flying's really good in this set, it is like a 3/4 flyer, and again, giving evasion something as long as like if you have like if you have a lot of flyers and some flyers, again, you just attack with your flying and your non-flying. And this counts as a flyer, so like if you attack with Landerval and your non-flying creature flying, yeah, I think it could be pretty good, honestly. Like depending on like how many creatures there are. Yeah, it's only 1 white. It doesn't like legendary cheese because it's a legendary creature. So I could definitely see this being like a 3 if you're like as a good finisher. Yeah, like being single white definitely makes it easier because like double white can sometimes be a little awkward. Not that it seems like this is like a multi-color format, but I don't know. I probably could see this being like. I also think like just because like the legendary synergy, but Lost to Legends. See double white, instant, put target non-land historic permanent into its owner's library, 4 from the top. So this actually does reference historic permanent. Well, I guess permanence, not like. Well, I guess you. Yeah, no, I guess like they don't want you to like do it on like a legend spells. Like they don't want you to do like so. I mean, instant. It has to be historic. It really depends how many historic cards there are. I could actually see this being like bad, like if you played against the opponent that has like no artifacts, no legendaries, no sagas. Bad. But if they like this feels like more like a sideboard card, honestly, like in best of three, and maybe you play it in best of one if you don't have anything better, but I don't know. It is like it is like conditional, and I could definitely see this card being like sitting in your hand sometime, right? So it's like if there's a ton of like legendaries and artifacts and sagas in the set, this is gonna be great. But if there isn't, it's gonna be pretty bad. It's gonna be like like it feels like a lot like gonna be like disenchant. If you, like usually you're not like insanely happy to like have disenchant in your set, but like the fact that it puts in a library 4 from the top is like almost like like destroying it. So I mean, I think the best of one is gonna be like you play it like as a 1.5. Like I see a lot of people playing Atraxas Fall, right? And that's card's really narrow, and it's also sorcery speed. But yeah, I was gonna say it's like a 1.5. Again, I think like it's gonna go a lot better in best. Assuming a lot of people will hear. I think in best of three, better. Nothing best of three. Bring it in. Nimble Hobbit, 1 in the white, creature halfling peasant. Whenever Nimble Hobbit attacks, you may sacrifice a food or pay 2. When you do, tap target creature and opponent control. This does not seem great unless like there's a halfling or peasant tribal card. I mean, 3 mana is a lot to like tap something. Yeah, it's a lot. Like, I mean, there was like Hazda Snare Squad or something like that. I don't remember that. But I guess that cost like 3, but it was also like a cost. Yeah. Oh, never mind. It only paid 1 white. So, like, it has that condition that it needs to attack too. And, like, a 1/3 might not necessarily always get to, like, attack a lot. Like, and then, like, paying 3 is, like, awkward. And, like, there's a lot of food. Yeah, but I don't know. This is definitely going to feel like a 1.5 or something. Or maybe 1.5 or maybe even, like, a 1. Depending on, like, how many food you have. Right? Because I think 2 mana 1/3 is usually not that, like, quality wise, like this is probably something you're gonna sideboard into. Like if your opponent's got like mono 2/1s, definitely gonna be low or just that line. Yeah, it's a lot of mana, and like sacking a food is basically giving up like a game object. Theoretically, I mean, there's probably gonna be some stories where people said they lost because like their opponent had like a nimble hobbit and let them. I'm gonna say it's like a 1 at this point, but I don't know. It could be like better. Give like a lot of support. Now for Ram, now for Ruin. 3 and a white sorcery. Put a +1/+1 creature counter on each creature you control to gain vigilance until end turn. Ring temp. So it's like a go wide payoff that also does like the ring tempting. I mean, vigilance isn't bad on your team pump because it means like they can't just swing back. Yeah, this is gonna play out a lot like that. whatever circle of whatever card was. I think the one, yeah. So this is like the card that you really want to get at the end of the pack. It's gonna be like a 1 or something. You really a 1.5, yeah. Gonna really want to get this on the wheel type of thing. Like I remember it was like I think it was like the card from Eldraine that was like 4 mana, give all your creatures +1/+1 counter, and then if you had adamant they get vigilance. But yeah, if you have like very go wide, I could see the thing. But this is definitely a card you're gonna want to get at the end of the pack. Because only like a very specific deck is gonna want one, because I could see this card just like rotting. Like the problem. But the Protector of Gondor, 3 in the white. Creature human soldier. Whenever Protector of Gondor enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human. So this is basically like the Kathar or whatever something Kathars from like Midnight Hunt made like it was like a 3/3 that made a 1/1. So this plays well with like that pump spell that we just saw because it makes 2 bodies. Yeah. They're humans, which I guess matters for humans. I mean, it's fine. It's just gonna be like filler. You're gonna play like one of these or maybe 2, depending on how much you go into the go wide or the human deck. But I mean, I just remember these cards used to be like a lot better back in the day when like cards were weaker. Yeah, maybe it could be like a 2, I guess, but it's not. Just because there's like 2 humans, it goes well in the go wide strategy. But it's not like something you need to pick early. Definitely not like pre. Maybe it's really busted. Alright, reprieve 1 in a white instant. Return target spell to its owner hand. Draw a card. So this is basically like remand, except like it works on uncounterable stuff. This is like the first card that like people said and is actually like constructed playable because it has white remand. It's white remand. It doesn't work with like Guile or whatever. I understand people are gonna like nitpick and say like it doesn't work with Guile. Not countering. Yeah. It's gonna be a good tempo play. Like you wanna like return like their 3 or 4 drop. Yeah, if you like if they tap out to play like their 5 drop and you return it and you basically time lock, right? Yeah, it's basically time log if you use it on their turn 4 or their 4 drop. Like they tap out for like a 4 drop, but they tap out for a 5 drop. You're like bouncing back, draw a card, and then like yeah, it's just like pretty big deal. Like if they were trying, especially if they were trying to play a blocker or whatever, like bounce it back to their hand, draw a card. And for 2 mana, it's pretty nuts. So I don't know. I'd probably say it's like a 3. Probably gonna be like a 3, like in that deck, because like it's gonna be such a big tempo game. I can see people rating it lower because, but yeah, emotional damage. They'll definitely do emotional damage. Some people. Rosie caught a South Lane, 2 in a white, legendary creature, halfling peasant. When Rosie caught the South Lane enters the battlefield, create a food token. Whenever you create a token, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control other than. So okay, it. Okay, so there's like a payoff for making tokens. Oh, has a potential modern infinite combo. Yeah. Oh, with like Scurry Oak. Other Wing Spear. Yeah, possibly. Like if you were tapping out to play your big instant speed removal spell or something like that, it could be a big blowout, right? Like if you're trying to pay like some 3 mana or 4 mana removal spell in the middle of combat and they repeat it and you can't replay your removal spell, it could be a problem. But yeah, it makes 2 game objects when you play it as a 1/1 of food, and it gets to throw a counter on somebody. Like, So the ideal play is like you have a creature, you have a 2-drop in play, and you go Rosie, buff your 2-drop because it can only target other creatures. And if you have like a lot of token makers, like that Protector Gondor or things that make food, for example, you could kind of go off with this card, but it's gonna be like really conditional. Right, it is legendary, so it matters there. It has like food synergy, so it's good there. That's Sam's White. I don't really know, I guess, the lore, but like, yeah, it could be really good in the token deck. It's obviously going to be pretty terrible if you're not making any tokens. But, I don't know, I'm probably going to say like a 2.5, but like it could be conditionally a 3 based on like, how good token makes stuff. It is kind of fragile because it's always going to be a 1/1. It's a little fragile because you can never buff her with it. But again, if you just have like a lot of token, hey, Spinal Embrace, how's it going? Alright, we're just doing a set review because I just felt like let's do a set review because why not? Yeah, she's kind of like an enchantment, yeah, enchantment with 1 toughness. Samwise, a stout-hearted, 1 in a white, legendary creature, halfling peasant. Flash. When Samwise, the stout-hearted, enters the battlefield, choose up the 1 target permanent in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield. Return it to your hand, then the ring temp. Oh boy. So it's like a conditional, it's like a conditional Gravedigger. Yeah, it's a 2-drop you want to play late. I mean, it's like a conditional Gravedigger, right? Yeah, they have rare versions elsewhere. Um, yeah, they make a lot of these legendaries uncommon so that you'll play them in drafts. Yeah, I mean, it's basically like a uncommon conditional Gravedigger, and it doesn't have like ring text. So sometimes I guess you'll just flash it into the 2/1. You're gonna get really unhappy if that's like the case. You know, like preferably you know are yeah, it is a permanent, so you could return like a land or whatever if you sacrifice evolving wilds or sacrifice like your artifact that well not a food token, but you know, like some other artifact. Got like some more flexibility there. It's also got legendary matter. It's a legendary, so it'll trigger any legendary matters things. Yeah, it can save a bomb or a keyboard state card is 2.5. Yeah, it's really conditional. It does have the ring tempt you text on it. Like I do think like it is technically worth something that has like ring tempt you text on it. But I don't know. I might be a little bit higher on it because sometimes you can get like an insane blowout on these type of cards, but I don't know. Again, it's like it's definitely not going to play out quite as well as like say Zephyr Sentinel. If anybody remembers that card from like Brothers War, because that card also had flying, and sometimes it like beat your opponent down as like a 2 flyer, so that card is actually kind of busted. But like Zephyr Sentinel. But, I don't know. I could see this being like a 2.5, just because like I think like potentially it, like I do think like these type of cards have like a really high ceiling sometimes. Like it's like, and I mean I think Gravedigger is usually like even if it's like conditional grave, like potential there. All right, second breakfast, 2 and a white. Up to instant, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+1 until end of turn. Create a food. So this goes well with like that Rosie card because it makes a token at instant speed. And I mean, it's like a +2/+1. Usually these types of like combat tricks are like hard to like make it good because like it's only giving like 1 toughness. So it's not necessarily always gonna make like your guy survive. And I don't even necessarily think like 3 mana add +2/+2 to 2 creatures are gonna be great. It's a cute trick, but it's gonna be like really like conditional. Like I think if you have like the food or slash token synergies, it's gonna be a lot better, but I don't know. I could see this being like insane when you actually do get like a pseudo 3-for-1 off of it if you count a food as like a card or whatever. It could be like a pseudo 3-for-1 when you like, bump both of your tutus to like eat your opponent's tutus or whatever, but I can see some blowout potential here, but I don't know. Again, I'm like a little bit. It is 3 mana, which is like makes it a little bit harder to like use it. Like I was never really like that high on like the 3 mana combat trick from like Ball. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be like a 2. Maybe if you have like a lot of food. Or I just think like it's hard to like 3 mana just feels like a lot. Shire, Shire Sheriff. Oh, it's Sheriff. 1 in the white. Vigilance. When Shire Sheriff enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a token. When you do, exile target creature and opponent control until Shire Sheriff enters the battlefield. Yeah. It's a 4/4/5 for Yargle because food. This is like your food payoff. You can sack a food. You can also sack a 1/1 soldier, I guess, if you need to. Like, like, I don't know. I mean, harder to play Fiend Hunter. I mean, it costs 2. It costs 2. It's a 2/2 vigilance. It's not like irrelevant, but it's definitely not going to play super great unless you have like a lot of food tokens. I definitely feel like people are going to draft this a lot more than they should. Like they're going to draft it and play it in like their non-token deck. But I also don't necessarily. I'm not also not really that big on like banish or priest in general. Just like there's a lot of removals that like kind of punishes it. But yeah, it's like a bear with upside. But I could see it being like a 2.5 in like the right deck. Just because like, but again, I don't know. There's just never like. There was definitely a time when I used to think like Dwarven. I used to think Fairground Warden was like decent, and then I started like getting to the point where like I stopped thinking Fairground Warden. Yeah, Vigilance isn't nothing. That's for sure. I mean, you can still keep attacking. But I'm just gonna say it's like a 2.5 potentially at this point. I haven't really rated very much like 3 or 4 unless it's like really good. Maybe it's because I'm just jaded about like limited now. A slip on the ring, 1 white and a 1 in the white. Instant exile target creature you own, then return to the battlefield under control. The ring tempts you. So this is your blink spell of the set. You don't draw a card. So it's technically card disadvantage unless like, blinking your creature was really good. I don't know. So it's like a scroll shift except you don't draw cards. It's like not as efficient. Like, I mean, it costs 2 mana, which is like a big deal, I guess, compared to like scroll shift. I mean, it depends on how many ETBs you have. I mean, yeah, you could use it as like a quote unquote protection spell. Like, do it in response to removal. And then the ring tempts you isn't like irrelevant or whatever. I don't know how exactly like ring tempts you. It's not quite draw a card. Not quite make a 2/2 decay zombie. Not quite make an incubate 2, but different value depending on like how many other like ring temps payoffs. It feels going to like it's going to be very conditional this type of effect, and again, it's going to make me think it's going to be like a 1F because like I'm never really like huge on like scroll shift type things. I just like never really had like scroll shift be. Well, I think the set feels so far it feels like less powerful than like March of the Machine, but I don't know. That's not necessarily bad, right? Just if we're rating cards by like March of the Machine standards, then like a lot of other formats, we just don't know. It could also just be like limited formats lately have just been like pushed super hard, right? Like, remember, like, when you were happy to get a, like, you remember when you were happy to get, like, you, like, bro, it was flatter, yeah. Like, yeah, I think so too. Like, it had the bonus sheet problem, but, like, honestly, most of the bonus sheet cards weren't even that oppressive in that format. Like, people talk about, like, oh, Wormcoil Engine really sucks to play against, but honestly, I actually don't think Wormcoil Engine was that, like, because, like, there were, like, ways to, like, exile it. Centaur Courser, yeah, I remember when Centaur Courser was good, yeah. For sure, you could play, like, a 3-minute 3-3. And nowadays, people say, like, 3-minute 3-3, like, with, like, the Soldier of the Grey Host, 3 and a white, flash flying. When Soldier of the Grey Host enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. That's a combat trick. It's pretty bad stat line by itself. Like, I mean, it's. I don't think you're gonna be excited about 4-mana 2/2. It does, like, randomly, like, you could, like, buff in the middle of combat, like, make your 1/1 trade with, like, a 3/3. You know, or, like, say your opponent has, like, a 1/3 or, like, a 1/4, and they block your 2/2, and you're like, surprise, flash in my 2/2, and so it's like a really it's like a really understated flyer, but it has flash, and it gives, like, it has, like, a pump effect on it, so it has, like, a potential for, like, 2-for-1. But I'm still probably gonna say it's like a 2 because, yeah, it's like a filler trick. I could see it being less than a 2, honestly, because, like, again, 2/2 flyer for 4. That's, but I don't know. There was definitely another card that was like that in any 1/1 flyers worth ambush. I haven't seen any. That's the other issue. Like, it's probably not going to ambush, like, a lot, like, as a 2/2. You know? But like I said, I think the main value is making, like, your 1/1 trade up with an X3, or making your 2/2 trade up with, like, an X, or, like, you can start hitting flyer. I mean, I think I'm gonna say it could potentially be a 2, but it's definitely not something you really want more of. Really, yeah. It's gonna be like, doesn't seem like it's gonna be super high priority card. We're almost, no, we're not done with white. But I'm trying to try to hurry this up. Try to do another color before I end the stream. Try to do a second color. Alright, Stalwarts of Osgiliath. Creature human, 4 and a white, creature human soldier. When Stalwarts of Osgiliath enters the battlefield, whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Stalwarts. So this is like your draw second card payoff, which there are, like, draw second card payoffs in the set. 4/3 for 5 is pretty bad stats. Again, it depends on how much you value. Ring tempts you. Yeah, I'm probably gonna say this is gonna play out like a 1 if you don't have, like, any synergy with it, and maybe it's gonna be like a 1.5 if you have, like, the synergy with it. Yeah, it feels like it should have vigilance. I'm just gonna say I'm honestly, it looks a lot like a 1 to me, but it's not, like, completely unplayable. Like, I might just be undervaluing Ring Temp too. It's sort of like how I undervalued, like, remember Decade was, like, one of those things that people really undervalued a lot initially, and then they realized, oh, Decade's actually really good. It's like insane. Like people really like flip switch for, like, the Decade mattered a lot. Yeah, the second ring level. So yeah, if you have synergies with it, so you're getting, like, a loot or whatever, and it becomes a big deal. So maybe it could be like a 1.5 in, like, the right deck or whatever. But I don't know. It's probably gonna play out a lot like like in, like, the wrong deck. So I don't know. Yeah, a lot of the creatures is like very understated, relatively speaking, even compared to like Modern Horizon, like Limit. Modern Horizon is some really busted cards, like freaking 3 mana, 2/2 lifelink flyer, like a grow. That common. I mean, it was gold, but it was a gold card. I think it's like the Breathless, whatever. But that card was kind of insane for like a common Breathless Knight. 3 mana, 2 flyer with flying, or three mana, 2/2 flying lifelink that grows. Um, return stuff from that. Alright, so first Saga, Tale of Two Nuviel, 3 and double white. Step 1, target creature you control gains indestructible for as long as you control Tale of Two Nuviel. Um, turn target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Step 2. Up to 2 target creatures you control each gain lifelink until end. So this is like Resurrection. And I guess like the first step does make like your creature indestructible so it can block for a while. Like it's kind of sick on like I guess a big vigilance creature because you can start attacking freely and blocking freely with it. Step 1. Um yeah, I mean it is really slow. Like I said, it's basically just like 5 mana resurrection, and like if you have creatures in play, it gets a lot better. Again, like vigilance goes well with like the indestructible. And you only play if you have like bombs, yeah. Like yeah, this is gonna be like it's like 5 mana for like a resurrection effect is usually pretty bad unless like again you have bombs or whatever to get back. And like there's it's also slow because you don't get the creature back right away. So it's weird. It's like it wants you to be like aggressive because of like the gaining lifelink until end of turn, because that's only going to stay on during your turn. It's not gonna. It's not until like the end of the your next turn, or at the beginning of your next turn. Oh yeah, every set should have Read Ahead and a Dominaria United. Yeah, I feel like that would be make this card a lot better. So I don't know. I'm almost gonna say that like this is probably be like a 1.5. It'd be like a 1.5, maybe like a 1 even. You just say like a 1. Yeah, I'd probably say like a 1. Feels like again 5 mana resurrect. And this set feels really weird for like limit because there's nothing. I haven't seen anything that's like preening champion yet. But maybe it could be like I haven't seen enough cards. We haven't hit the preening champion card yet. Or maybe there was like a preening champion card, I just missed it. Like I didn't value like being tempts you lower power levels. Because they just keep jacking up the power level every set. Ever like Neon, I think time feels power levels jump. Alright, took Reaper, 1 white. Creature halfling peasant, when took Reaper dies, the ring tempts you. It's a piker that dies, and so it's like the Power Stone mechanic from the game. Yeah, the game has become a lot about the ring. Then you have to rate all the ring cards up by like 1, or probably to like bump it up by 1. But yeah, it's gonna be filler. It's basically gonna be like Power Stone Engineer. Like it has like set mechanic. It needs a die to do it. Or Power Stone Engineer. Pepperidge Farm remembers Power Stone. Yeah, I'm just gonna say enough. I'm gonna really enjoy looking at this after. Gonna tell me. Well, 17 Land said this is a 5%. Right, War of the Last Alliance 3 and a white saga enchantment. Oh god, so this is really like a build around to like 1 and 2. Search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put in your hand in the shuffle. Then 3, creatures you control gain double strike on 1. This seems really bad unless you have like a ton of legend. Yeah, I'm just gonna say like the 1. Like maybe you have like the insane legend deck that wants this, but it just yeah, it's like double slow. It's like double tutor and double strike. I guess I don't know. I don't even think like giving double strike is like that insane unless like you're already ahead, right? Yeah, I mean it's like Cleaver Riot Yargle, and we know how good Cleaver Riot was. And when I say that, I'm being sarcastic about Cleaver Riot. Cleaver Riot was awful, but alright, we're almost done with light. Westfall Rider, one of the light. Creature Human Knight. Sacrifice Westfall Rider, destroy target artifact and champ. Activate only a sorcery. Boo! But I understand. I mean, it's main deckable artifact or enchantment hate. I don't remember if they are seeded. I mean, yeah, 3 for 1 is pretty standard. Just it's like a like I don't know. There's a lot of 1/1s and it's gonna be bad. Like there's a lot of 1/1s in the format and the 3. But I mean, it's main deckable artifact. It's also a human, and there's human. It is activating only the sorcery, which makes it a little worse, but you can't have everything. It's free. It's like free, so like like it's not commando, right? Commando actually costs mana to activate it, right? And you cannot pass like instant. Destroy target creature that blocked or was blocked by a legendary creature this time. So this is basically that zombie card from Hour of Devastation, or was it Hour of Devastation or M1 There was like a 1 white instant that says like exile a creature that blocked or was blocked by a zombie. So like there's a lot of legendaries this would be alright, but it's very conditional. I could definitely see this card being like not good. Because you have to have like legendaries for thing. If you don't have any legendaries, this card actually does. Yep. It's like a 1. Like, we're super low about everything. In this stream. Alright. Well, we finished white. Yay!